Daniel Jebbison making some headlines here, gentlemen, but not the kind that we were expecting. He will be out for a month, sustaining an ankle injury while training with a personal trainer. That, of course, infuriated Preston North End manager Paul Heckingbottom. He came out, voices criticism of personal trainers, saying they have no problem posting photos of them with professional athletes to promote their business. But when that athlete gets hurt in their care, do they compensate the club? No. But he's taken it a step further, Heckingbottom has, and he has now banned his players from training with personal trainers. He wants them to use the people that the club offers up. Gareth, is this an overreaction, or does Heckingbottom have a point?
What's not an overreaction is how lame those workout videos are. No one wants to see you working out. This is for your own vanity and no one else. Honestly, people videotaping stuff in the gym, leave it alone. And I'm just watching like Alejandro Garnacho videos and pictures right now of him in the gym waiting for his move to Chelsea. Come on, man. Like, you don't have to take your picture to show people that you're working out and taking care of yourself. You're a professional athlete, for crying out loud. It's disgusting. Anyways, when it comes to Jebbison, I feel bad for the guy. Like this, he has been snake bitten over the last few years through injury and health issues and other problems. He hasn't got a good run of games now in 2.5 years? It's a real problem for a young player who I believe has a ton of promise and a ton of potential. As for the manager and his comments, of course it's over the top. When you invest in a player, and I know that Preston North End just has Jebbison there on loan, you want to fully take advantage of the player coming in, and the plans oftentimes do revolve around these players, and so does success and failure. The league championship is a big league, and Jebbison was supposed to be a player that could help Preston North End compete for potential promotion, and now that he's out, you can just sense the frustration from the manager. Of course, all athletes are going to have their own people that they work with, whether it be massage therapists, nutritionists, people that will help in terms of the mental health aspect of the game. But what should happen, rather than a manager saying, no, you shall not pass, there shouldn't be, the players shouldn't be working with anyone outside of the bounds of the club. They should be working together. This is a situation, whoever is working with the player in said moment should be aligned with the vision and the approach of the club. So this just requires more communication between entities. Then problems like this won't arise as long as people are on the same page, spread their resources across the board, use them appropriately, and let these athletes, who are of course going to be taking care of themselves outside the club, just make sure that there's alignment there. And what it sounds like from the manager's perspective, that there wasn't that alignment. So I always say this, you just simply have to communicate in all walks of life in order to bring a level of success and understanding. And here, I think there was a complete breakdown. So whose fault is it? Partly the player, partly the club. I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation, and one that could happen to a number of different players. Probably most players in world football, these sorts of things could happen.
AGR?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing in football right now. I saw a lot last year, like Cole Palmer. He had a trainer. You'd always see videos of him in the week getting sessions in. Obviously, it helped him grow a lot. You see it a lot of the Canadians. They'll come back, to Canada. A couple of the Ontario guys. You see videos of Tajon Buchanan, Kyle Larin getting in reps with one of their local trainers out there, Jonathan David as well. It's like cool. It's good, makes sense. You want to keep guys fit in the summer. I guess what the conundrum is from Heckingbottom and the club standpoint is, it's one thing to be working with these guys in the off season where you're obviously leaving the club, you're going back to usually a different country, your home country. Maybe you're going on vacation. You want to stay fit in the summer. The part that I guess is when it's in season, because already with the football calendar, you're already playing a lot of games, you're training every day, you're doing usually gym sessions, especially early on. I guess the question is, how do you find a balance with doing sessions on top of that when you're doing workouts the nights that you're doing training? And I do wonder if there's a bit of that in it, where he feels just his players are doing a bit too much. At the same time, it does it does feel like a bit of an old school stance. You could kind of see it in the way he spoke about it, just calling them Instagram trainers, saying that they just want to show off players, on their IG. Guys want to flex their pectoral muscles because you play soccer with your pecs, obviously. So it was funny the way he outlined it, because there's clearly some frustrations. But I do wonder if there are questions to be had of also just the timing of it all, and if it's really needed in the course of a busy season. But at the same time, they're pro athletes. They're always going to want to push for marginal gains. And most times players get those marginal gains. It just feels like Jebbison was unfortunately one of them who hasn't. And it's, another bad moment in a string of bad luck moments for the young Canadian.
I will say this too, AGR, like different clubs, depending on who you go to, have a different levels of resources. Like if you're playing with a Premier League club, that's one thing. And Jebbison has been a little bit of a nomad, looking for a home. You want some sort of continuity for him just in terms of the people that he's leaning on. Again, like if you're a manager, you want the player to be working through with you're right, with staff at the club, however that situation plays out. But they don't oftentimes have the capacity to deliver the players exactly what they need. So I'm not going to get mad at a player for being a keener. Like you're doing too much. Okay. Like usually you hear things the other way. So I think there's a middle ground here, and it boils down to communication.
I was wondering what bothered you the most. Was it the workout videos or the fact that they're posting videos with no shirts on? Like what upsets you the most?
It's all a vanity project.
And that's what
don't get me started with it. Instagram.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
I will say this, you're all great points, because it's so true. I mean, back in the day, showing up to training camp is where you got fit for the season. But now managers put the pressure on players to show up already fit for training camp. Well, how else do you think they're going to do that? They're going to do that with personal trainers. But to your point, I think there needs to be communication with those trainers and the club. It'd be very nice if they were vetted and, gave them some specific training tips for what the coach would want for the season ahead. Anyways, all very interesting, because we know that athletes are always going to go outside. You're right. Whether it's trainers, whether it's nutritionists, whether it's physiotherapists, a lot of them, in order to keep their bodies in peak form, oftentimes will go outside the club to get that extra help. But here's the thing, when it comes to Jebbison, so being out a month, we know that the Canadian men's national team played 2 games in September 5th against Romania, September 9th against Wales. Looks like his availability could be jeopardized for that. And we know that there's a lot of battles going on right now for starting positions with the national team. So how do you think this hurts him, AGR, obviously, if he ends up missing those 2 games in September?
Yeah, I think it could be a big loss for him, so to speak, because Canada's striker pool is so competitive, and he himself didn't have the greatest summer on the pitch. His stock fell a lot. Feels like when you look at the group of 5 that Marsh called up, Jonathan David, Promise David, Tenny Oluwase, Kyle Larin, and of course Jebbison, it feels like Jebbison kind of dropped to the bottom of that pecking order. And when you got guys that are hungry knocking on the door, I continue to say it feels like Jason Russell-Rowe has some sort of say in this, like just with how solid he's been for Columbus. You can't forget Charles Andreas Brim just secured a move to stay in the Eredivisie after having a decent campaign there. Theo Bears in Ligue 1 can, go off at any moment. He's in his 2nd full season and, should take a big step forward. Missing out on a window just opens the door for one of those guys to come in and take your spot. And for a guy who is already having a less than strong grip on one of those spots, and the 5th spot of that to boot, there might not even be room for 5 strikers on the World Cup squad, by the way, depending on how the rest of the squad shapes up. This is really a badly timed injury for Jebbison, especially because with this camp being in Europe, it's going to be very easy for Marsh to call up a Bear, call up a Brim, because they're so close, and maybe see what they got.
Yeah, this is where I'll disagree with you in a little bit. This is how preposterous a 26-player squad for the World Cup is, because you can probably keep 5 strikers. There is no need in 2025 for there to be a 26-player squad at this World Cup. In the last one, COVID was still like kind of a thing, and there's, the world was still getting back to quote unquote normal. So yeah, they opened it up. 26 is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what's that? Like 8 defenders, 8 midfielders, 5 strikers. Then you have 5 other players to choose, 3 goalkeepers, then 2 players that can float around wherever. Like I don't think this will affect his standing in terms of playing or making the Canada World Cup squad. Where this might have an impact is where he fits in, just in terms of the prominence, because Jebbison, for me, has the highest ceiling of that group after Jonathan David. I rate the player. I think that he has the size, the physical attributes, the talent to be that meaningful, impactful player. Did we see it this summer? No. But do I think the team played great around him? No, I don't. So Canada's style needs to evolve from just playing in transition. I think that Jebbison will improve once the team kind of plays more, more of a complete brand of football. I think that's what he's used to playing more so. Like Bournemouth, like the team can press and go, and Jebbison was training with that group under Iraola every week last season. So I think that there's potential that he can lift his game and put himself in the mix. Obviously, this is a short-term setback, but he's going to be part of the World Cup squad. Just about everyone is. Who's not going to be part of 26?
Well,
it's like the Oprah thing. You get a spot, you get a spot, you get a spot. Everyone's going to get a spot.
But no, he needs to play, though, because ultimately potential is one thing. At the end of the day, it is the World Cup's squad. You're not going to be dropping guys unless the potential is through the roof. And the reality is we've been saying potential for 4 or 5 years. It would be, you do want to see some output in him missing a month that he could show off some potential at a league, at a club with the manager. Heckingbottom, we have to remember, gave him his shot in the Premier League. It is a bit frustrating because it always feels like there's what ifs with Jebbison. And I think there's some other guys who could step up and show some things. That's why I'm a bit concerned for that.
I acknowledge that, and yet you're right. Whenever you're out, you open up the door or the window of opportunity for someone else. But who is that player? Like after Jonathan, Promise David didn't really have a serious look in the summer. Ola O'Shea in and out of the team. Laren's like the wily veteran, but his status right now, where's he going to be playing his club football this season? Like there's, as deep as that position is on paper, in practice, I think there's a lot of work to do at that position. Does a Russell Rowe, who else can work themselves into it? But you mentioned Brim or Russell Rowe. Every time they've been called upon by Canada, it's been a difficult performance or, an opportunity not taken for them as well. So, I mean, Jebbison's just the latest one. But again, I'll say this. I just think that he is the highest ceiling of them all, Andy. And they need Jebbison fit and firing. So, hopefully it's not too far. If you miss the September window, get back in October and take full advantage of that opportunity.
Well, we know Jesse Marsh, though, of course, to your point, though, with all these decisions to make, it's always better to have all your players available to be able to play them and see what you have than not. So wishing Jebbison a speedy recovery.